Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino this year.
I was only playing for fun, so winning this was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's #1 social casino experience. It's serious fun. With over 80 casino-style games to choose from, you too could win life-changing amounts of cash. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and give them a whirl. That's ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of a winner.
Hello, and welcome to the Proactive Caregiving Podcast. As a CPA with over 20 years as an industry accountant, Jessica stepped away from the corporate world to become a full-time caregiver for her mother. Having learned invaluable lessons along the way, she is now here to share those with you and to invite you to join her on this caregiver's journey. Here is your host, Jessica Cannon.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad you're here with me today. I'm the Proactive Caregiver, and I specialize in educating others on how to be proactive by empowering you, the caregiver. If you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of your loved one. According to the NAIC report released early 2020, prior to the worldwide chaos resulting from the coronavirus, the increase of caregivers went up by 10%, from 42 million in 2015 to 53 million in 2020. The life of a caregiver is filled with many pressure points of worry, stress, anxiety, fears, among many other things. When it comes to be able to relax for the day, to get restorative sleep in hopes of recharging our mental batteries, maybe detoxing our bodies, and possibly resetting for another day of care, it's easier said than done sometimes. In our previous episode, we spoke with Dr. Joy Poskozim and discussed issues around sleep apnea. Now I want to take a deeper look with today's guest. Whether you have been diagnosed with sleep apnea or purchased a mouth guard by chance for a preventative measure, or just struggle to fall asleep and maintain good sleep, this is something that I believe will be of help to you. It may be considered an art form for some people to be able to fall asleep instantly, but for others, it's going to take a little bit more effort. Today, I asked Oliver Havalia to help me with techniques of falling asleep to achieve regular restorative sleep. Oliver is a man of many talents with a Master of Fine Arts. He's a certified Feldenkrais practitioner and is a certified neurophysical movement educator and author. And he lives in Helsinki, Finland. His decades of practice, study, and research of neurophysical movement have culminated into the creation of his Moving into Sleep method. This has become a revolutionary approach for inducing sleep and improving sleep quality by doing gentle sleep-inducing movements. This is something that resonates with me, and I needed help. So, Oliver, thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you. And thank you for having me as your guest. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Your research is something that I think people take for granted when they get used to a routine of poor sleep and having to force themselves, finding ways to get through their days. And so I definitely wanted you to be able to come on and share your story, because when I read through some of your information, your story resonates with me so much in terms of the back pain and how you came to your studies. So what caused the transition from you to go from a Master of Fine Arts as a violinist to a neurophysical educator?
Yes, that's an interesting story, and I was thinking, behind that is always that I really love to learn about things. I think that's a critical thing in a life, and what I learn, I like to share with others. So that as a child, I really had a dream of becoming a violin player, and so I worked really, really hard and followed a lot of education on that. And then I right away also started to teach, and that's how it went for many years until suddenly I got really terrible back pain. Nobody could help me. I went to doctors and I got treatments and that, and I knew that there must be a way. So I started to study then how the human nervous system works, and because it's actually a huge learning system when we are born, and we actually cannot do much at all, and everything we learn is there in the nervous system. Yeah, what happened is after a while, then I indeed was able to cure my back, but then in addition to that, actually the bigger thing was that I noticed that I was able to re-educate myself to sleep better. Because when I was having my back was so bad and I just couldn't sleep well. And so that bothered me also a lot. And then suddenly I noticed that, hey, my sleep is getting better and better. So then I noticed there are some movements which really improve my ability to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. And I also get much better sleep. And so I call them sleep-inducing movements, and I call my method is the moving into sleep method, which tells it's about movement.
That's very interesting.
Yes, and then after that, and I started to, of course, I developed the method, and I talk with people, and I started to notice how terrible it could be when people can't sleep, and how big the issue is actually in the whole world. So I wrote my book, and I made some online courses, and I have an audio guide. It really feels good when you hear somebody can sleep better, and that's so wonderful.
It is, and sleep is one area of self-care that I think we cannot afford to skimp on.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I love to write. Actually, in my website, I have this topic which is sleep as self-care, mm-hmm. and I have done so much research on all types of health issues. I really truly believe that sleep actually has to do everything in life. It's really I used to say often that sleep is to health what roots are to a tree. So if you don't have proper roots, then you just can't flourish and grow in life. So that's it affects really the whole life. When we are adults, then of course it affects our ability to be healthy and work and be our emotions and ability to concentrate and focus and that. But in the longer terms, then you have this the effect to the memory part of the brain, so that you have the troubles then coming out of that dementia and Alzheimer's. So that is another topic, which is then you have the daily trouble, but then you have also the lifelong.
What's interesting to me is that when we have our children and you watch these beautiful little babies sleep and they get this rest, and we encourage it, and we put them on nightly routine so that they can get good sleep, because we know as parents, that's the time that they're growing. This is vital for their growth and development. But then as adults, we get into these modes, and it's amazing to me when I hear people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or I don't need much sleep. I can function off of 3 or 4 hours. It just is amazing to me when you consider what your body actually goes through as adults, and how even as adults, we need that 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And so our bodies not getting that time to relax and repair, and that long-term effect of almost training our body not to detox and training our body not to sleep well. It's just amazing to me that it is something that we take for granted, but yet it is a lifeline for us. So when we get good sleep, what does that do for our hearts as we are able to actually achieve restorative sleep?
The sleep, actually, what you just told about, like, we tend to take it for granted that sleep is always good. And like as a child, when we learn to sleep. It's a natural part of the life. When we grow older, then it happens that we kind of re-educate our brains, and we stop getting that perfect sleep. What I see, there are three factors what is happening when we sleep. That there's the physical part. There are lots of kind of self-cleaning and repairing the body, and it just, when we sleep and the body is relaxed and it calms down, so there's an opportunity for the systems to do a proper work on it. Besides that, then we have the brain. It has two different systems which has to be taken care. There's the chemical cleaning. There's the during the day, the brain is a protected area. So actually, all the waste products would come from metabolic processes, and they stay there during the day. And it's only during the night when we have the deep and a non-REM sleep, then it gets cleaned. And then the third part is the brain's organizing. It's just, then we have this REM sleep, REM sleep, and we have the brain goes through a self-organizing. And that's really, really important. And that's actually so important that if we are lack of sleep, then the body and the brain, they kind of they skip some part of the sleep, and they go straight into that type of sleep. So that explains a little bit also that if we lack of sleep, then as a result, the sleep quality goes down. So that I was just thinking about this, and so it's if you sleep only for 5 to 6 hours, then the sleep quality is not that good. So it doesn't help that you. Some people say that, I go to sleep and I can fall asleep very easily. That's actually kind of a sign that people are lack of sleep, and they fall asleep, and then after that, the sleep structure is not perfect, and then often people also wake up after a couple of hours, and then it happens that they cannot sleep anymore. Then that's telling that there's a lot of stress in the body. All that kind of things happen about sleep. So generally, if I think about these days, then the education is really important. We have to tell people what really happens during the sleep so that they can appreciate it.
Right. I think that once you relearn actually the importance of sleep, I know as an adult we're not exactly growing from that developmental stage. We're not going to get any taller, but there is still a growth pattern that is vital, because it's our cells, the brain cells, the cells in your body, all of the regenerative processes, our hormones, our immune system, all of this stuff that our bodies, our magnificent bodies are, if we compare ourselves to a computer, when the computer runs for too long, there's glitches and issues that happen. And one of the go-tos is reboot it. Well, for us, that's what sleep does. It is a human reboot. And that process is a big thing that includes our nutrition and reducing our stress. And like you said, that level of sleep, I find myself sometimes going through a day of care, and the issues that I am faced with are overwhelming, stressful. just emotionally challenging to turn the brain off so that I can sleep. And I fall asleep out of exhaustion, but then I find myself tossing and turning throughout the night. And sometimes I feel like, well, I got a little bit of sleep, but I feel it the next day when I wake up and my body is just, I'm achy, I'm exhausted, and now I'm having to push through yet another day with less of a reboot than I had the night before.
Yeah, that's very, very common, and I hear that from so many people. And that what is good to know that the brain, there's actually a system which really takes care of the sleep. That's called like a sleep response. So when body gets tired during the day, exhausted, and the brain gets tired and exhausted, then the sleep drive gets stronger and creates a sleep response. So the brain starts to really make you feel tired, and then it's up to the human. As a human, we have the possibility to decide. We can. Our mind is so strong, so we can postpone the sleep, and then that's when the trouble starts to gradually grow, because then the need to sleep becomes bigger and bigger, and then of course at some points we go to sleep then, but then the brain will take over indeed, as I just said, and then you won't get that relaxing sleep in first, because if we go to sleep, then the first part of the sleep is this relaxing, so it relaxes your body, so it lets then after that, then when the brain is getting time to do the cleaning and the self-organizing, so then it goes easy and well. But now if you are really tired and you go to the first part of the sleep and then you get some of it, and then there's this moment that we wake up naturally. There's actually quite many moments in the night when we wake up briefly. So when your sleep is not that good, then you wake up really completely, and then what happens is that the sleep drive is already a little bit less, so the stress is higher than the sleep drive, so that's why you turn and toss around, and that's exactly when the point actually when my method comes to help, because when I do the sleep-inducing movements, then that actually evokes a calming process in the brain, and that makes it again possible for the sleep drive to create a stronger sleep response and to go back to the normal system. And I've tried it myself in many situations, and of course there are times when really there's so much stress, and or you travel to another time zone or something, then even then, if I do the sleep-inducing movements, then I can really feel that my body kind of calms down, and even I'm not exactly in the sleep, I still get the best possible rest and relaxing time for that time being. That helps a lot.
So that's what I find very curious about, because when I do my routine at night and I'm getting ready to crawl into bed to go to sleep, and then I lay there in my mind thinking I need to be still and allow my body to just be at rest. But even if I'm physically at rest, my mind is not. And so it's curious to me when you speak of the technique of moving into sleep, it seems like it's the opposite of what I try to do. So how can you explain the technique of moving into sleep?
And the fact is that the mind can be very, very active, but it cannot demand the body to go to sleep. The same is also like our heart and the emotions. you feel that you want some, but the body won't listen to that. So, but when you do a movement, then the body movement right away, then it triggers something, a process in the brain. And when I do the movements, there are a couple of elements what are necessary, so you can really create the sleep-inducing effect. Is that first of all, the movements are very, very small and very easy and gentle. So there are absolutely no really effort of that. And the second point is that you pay really attention to that. You have an intention and a purpose of the movement. It's like learning. So when I learn to play violin, then I do certain movements to learn something. So I have when I do the sleep-inducing movements, then I have an intention that it calms down, and I follow the calming feeling I create myself. So then the mind cannot think of other things because you feel how your finger moves, or your eyes move, or your lips, or other parts, and then you also follow your breathing, and then the movement that creates that response from the brain, which calms down, then gradually other parts of the brain. So that's in short how it works.
And it's interesting to me because during the day, trying to reduce the amount of stress in hopes of having less on my mind or in my body when I finally laid down, the movement that I started to practice with yoga helped calm my body while I was awake. But it sounds like your techniques are like a yoga for sleep.
Yeah, it is. You can compare it and think of it like that. The yoga is has a very calming effect, and you can, when you do this movement slowly, then you surely can do that. And when the movements I teach, then they are very, very simple and easy, and you can just do them when you lie in your bed, just right there. And there's no for me, I if I would do yoga, I've tried to do a couple of movement trainings, and so then that gives me often an idea that I have to do some exercise indeed. And so this sleep-inducing movement is it's very, very easy to learn and do, and so you don't have to think about it so much as an exercise.
And it is, and it's something that I enjoyed when I had the opportunity to go through and follow the techniques. The night that I actually did this, I slept for 6 hours straight, when the nights beforehand I had been struggling and tossing and turning quite a bit and barely getting 4 hours consistently before I was up and tossing again. And so it was very helpful. And what I liked is that the technique is easily learned, and it's a practice where, we learn to be in routine as a child, and then as our adult lives lead us away, and we untrain our bodies to accept less sleep, or to accept to deny it, basically. And so this technique was like, I realized this is something that is easy to do, and it's helpful, and it's helping me to retrain my body and to get into that happier, healthier routine for sleep at night.
Yes. And there's what I like also is that when you learn this, then you get a little bit in different perspective also, like towards your children and towards the people you care of, at home. Then if my son he cannot he has a trouble into going to sleep, and I was able, to give him real advice. He has to study for an exam or something, and then he's tired and excited about and so that and for students it's a real problem also, the sleep. They have so much things to do, and the same is then for the elderly, like my parents. They experience also sometimes they just don't know why it happens that they can't sleep so well, and so then gradually I teach them and I help them, and now I know that they sleep really, really well. Not some things could happen. You don't know always why it happens that sleep is interrupted or something, but then they know that, okay, I can do something, and that helps a lot.
Definitely. This was something that I had a problem with my mom during the day with her. I would hear her say she had her back pain, and I knew she had back pain from sitting too long. Her days became too sedentary, and I kept trying to compare her back pain to my back pain. This technique helped me to refocus instead of on my back pain, to refocus elsewhere in the body. And so trying to help her, I would tell her, at night it's time for bed. Throughout the day she's sleepy, but not really sleeping, or having those, very short intermittent snoozes. But during the night, when it came time for her to go to bed, I would say your mind is too active. You're not physically tired, or maybe you're physically tired, but you're not mentally tired. And she would go through and say, I'm so tired. And then she would just lay there and be awake for hours and not fall asleep. And of course, her pattern of sleep over the years was a buildup of insomnia that and ironically, I grew up with her up in the middle of the night. If I, for whatever reason as a kid, and if I got up to get a glass of water, or if I got up to go to the restroom and she was still up, either reading a book or on the computer, I just, it was again, Mom can't sleep. Mom's having problems sleep. But over a long period of time of this insomnia, now in hindsight, I'm realizing Mom's brain was not getting enough of a regular opportunity to repair and regenerate. And quite the opposite, more of her brain cells dying and all of this. And this chronic insomnia, she's still, of course, now at the age of 70, she's still struggling with sleep at night, but now she does have a mixed form of dementia that now the brain in itself and that process in itself is deteriorating. And so connecting the two and trying to figure out how in the first place can I avoid insomnia and get that sleep so that over the long-term period of time, I'm not faced with the same outcome.
Yeah, that's what comes to my mind now is that there is then to help your mother to fall asleep better or sleep better, then you actually can also do this movement a little bit like with her, like the hand movement I have in my free ebook. Then you could do it for her, like touching her hand, and that's the touch has to be very gentle and very nice, and it's actually a nice way of communicating. I remember my late aunt, and the last time I saw her, then she didn't recognize me anymore. She knew that I was okay, but she didn't know who I was. And so, but she really liked, when I touch her hand, so I could massage her hand, and she was, sure that she knows that I'm there, and she was happy. And after that, she fell asleep. So that you could try do that, and then after, if you do it a few times, then she might learn to do it by herself. because then the brain learns still. It never stops learning. So the ability to improve is still there. And especially hand is very important, because that's one of the first tools we actually create for ourselves as a baby. So it's one of the strongest channels we can have. So that's why we shake hands and touch things, and so you could try that. And that's the same also with the children, actually, because if the children are very nervous or excited or something, then if you do slowly hold their hands and do a soft movement, then they calm down, and that can help also. And the same for myself, indeed. Then when I go to sleep, then I do that. If you hold your hands together also very softly, then you create a kind of loop. It's called the neurological feedback loop, and that is a technical term, but in practical way, it just gives you a feeling of kind of a circle completeness, and it calms down.
I like that, because finding, when you mentioned as a child, the first tool, I'm immediately reminded of the children, and even our own, that at some point would either suck their thumb for that self-soothing. And so when we can become adults and we are in these high stress moments, we run out of areas or ways of healthy self-soothing, because instead we turn towards the sleeping aids. And for me, I know when I was in my high stress level, and still do to an occasion every now and again, I may have that glass of wine before bedtime to allow my body to relax. But then by the morning, I'm groggy and I need the cup of coffee to wake up to. And then a bad cycle is created with helping. Well, I say I'm helping my body to relax, to fall asleep, but I'm trying to chemically induce my body for sleep, and then again chemically induce my body to wake, and it doesn't happen naturally. But the hand technique would actually help with jogging that brain thought process of self-soothing.
Yes, and that comes another idea of thought now, that really about the education, so that that we need. It's really good to educate people and talk about it. This is sleep is, in a way, it's a lovely topic of how everybody sleeps, so you can always talk about it. So that's in a way a good way to tell about if you find new ways how it's easy to fall asleep and sleep better, and how important it really is to get that sleep.
Absolutely.
And and that's the we have all these tips and advice and research about following the daily routine and eating well and doing enough movement and that, and then life happens, and then suddenly you have something which is so stressy, and you have to wake up in the middle of the night, especially if you have small children at home, or you have to take care of somebody, and so easy to neglect, or it's not neglecting, but it's easy to learn a different pattern for the sleep, and once you want to go back to the old good pattern, then it doesn't work anymore. So that's. But the good thing about this is actually that you can go back into and even improve your sleep. So the brain, the ability of the brain to learn is just enormous, and so we just have to find a way how to re-educate and improve it. So that's always been in me, that teaching. When I was teaching violin, I always thought, okay, there's nothing you cannot learn. Actually, you just have to find a way. And so and like playing the violin, as when I had students, then for me it was not always the violin playing itself, but it was finding that little spark of joy of learning something. And of course, playing music is really lovely, and so that's an enjoyment on that part. But it's finding that little spark, and like I had one lady, and she had I think she had some kind of a brain damage when she was younger, so she couldn't really remember things. So the short-term memory was really, really short. And I remember it took us 3 years to learn Twinkle, 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 Little Star to play. But every time she would learn, a little bit different way, some things, it was really lovely. And so that gave me also really, trust that everybody can learn. So if somebody says that I can't learn to sleep better, then I don't believe in that. That then of course, there might be some medical issues like allergies, or you have some kind of health issue, but of course then you have to go and take care of that. But still, the brain can always improve a little. So that really experienced in my life, and that's I'm very happy about and thankful for.
Yes, that it's amazing that, what we tell ourselves sometimes. When I find myself saying, I can't, I have to stop and think, why can't I? And try and break that thought before it ingrains in my mind, I can't do something. And so if I say I can't sleep, then I have to stop and wonder, why can't I sleep? What is happening? Is it a physical thing in my body? Is it an emotional thing, a psychological thing? And so I think as caregivers go through their days, and there's caregivers from all walks of life for all purposes, not just dementia-related loved ones, but for all reasons. And so going through a checklist almost of how to relieve areas in our life that we can actually learn to change, then it's a matter of reducing as much as we can, like something as simple as making sure the bed is comfortable and your room is dark and quiet and comfortable temperature before you lay down and start practicing the techniques.
Yeah, that is completely true. Yeah, and that I've tested it, of course, by myself. That I drink sometimes coffee really late and see how is it to sleep, and then I actually could sleep quite well. But I also noticed that it affects my sleep. So if I don't drink coffee, let's say like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then my sleep is, I notice it's better, and I can do that. But then, of course, like if I go somewhere late and I have to drive back, and I feel sleepy, then I really need that coffee to be to be able to drive safely. And then of course then if I didn't have my method, then I would lose my sleep, my night. I would be awake late, but now I can sleep still quite well. So that helps. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, I do advise always also that it's so important to eat healthily and do enough movement, and during the day that's so important to keep your heart happy, and then also do things which you really develop yourself a little bit, because that if you do like a creative hobby or like watercoloring, or you do some music, or you write something poetry or something, and you do things, then that's what makes your brain tired. That's kind of, there's sometimes lack of creative movement in there. So that will give you also, a different feeling. It doesn't have to be always something really, really fancy or something. It can be just something that you do more with your hands, and even just when you do, let's say, caregiving and something, you do something, then you just do it a little bit different way, or do it slower. And especially if your time is to go to sleep, then it's really good to slow down. You do your things. You do it just a little bit more slow and calm down and take care of yourself.
I'm really glad you said that, because when you think about, just as you said, make sure you eat well and get enough movements during the day. Movement doesn't necessarily mean you have to go run, 10 miles or run a mile, or exercise. Physical exercise is good for our hearts, but movement can also be that level of creativity. And I know that the more creative I get, the happier I am and the more fulfilled I am overall.
It's so lovely to do, create something. And it's that like at home these days, we stay so much at home also, and just tidying up is sometimes a good activity. You make things a bit tidier, or go through old photographs or something like that, and then and call other people and talk with them, and all kinds of little that can be a creative activity. And then the physical movement part I think they just had a research that like 5-6 times a day, 5 minutes, a little bit faster walking or going up and down the stairs a little bit faster than you normally do. That's really good. There, when I do movements like go walking, I try also really at the same time take the full potential out, because of course I really pay attention to movements. So then also like when I walk, then I try to feel how is it really feel, the ground under my feet, and that kind of stuff. So that really pay attention how you walk, and that again when I go to sleep then helps me to relax my body easier, because you connect with your physical system. You have to feedback what you can get from your body, and that the better feedback you get from your body, the better you can also listen to your body, and then you can also notice if there's something needs attention and that all. But then also then when you go to sleep, then it's easier to let go and get that really good sleep.
So Oliver, how, for the listeners and the other caregivers, how do they find you so that they can also benefit from your techniques?
I have a nice ebook on my website that explains one of my favorite sleep-inducing movements. It is a hand movement, and it's a very, very easy way to start. And then besides that, then I have lots of information about sleep on my website, and there's also a link to my audio guide, because there's another type. Some like to read a book, and they can understand it from there, and others learn a little bit different way. So the audio guide is it's really lovely. It was really a funny thing to produce, because we tried it and tested it at home with the family, and it was actually hard to, because the more you try to do it really well, then the sooner you fall asleep. So we hardly could never do it until the end of the tape. We always fell asleep, and so So everybody asking, how was the end? Was it okay? Oh, I never made it until that third movement. So it's a very, very nice audio guide.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can actually check out Oliver's technique if you go to bodyfinetuning.com, and you will be able to find his book and his audio links and the material, and learn more about Oliver and how he helps others relearn how to get restorative sleep. And I hope you take the opportunity and really think about the amount of sleep you're getting or not getting, and the quality of the sleep, because we sacrifice throughout the day after day, for our loved one, but sleep is a form of self-care and something that we should not ignore. There are long-term effects that we don't realize until it's too late. So I encourage you to check out Oliver's information. Again, that's bodyfinetuning.com. Thank you, Oliver, for coming on with me today. I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Thank you very much.
I hope this gave you all more food for thought. And until next time, be proactive. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. We really hope you've enjoyed this episode. To learn more about proactive caregiving and to hear other episodes of this podcast, please visit www.jessicalazelcannon.com. This podcast is produced by Cannon Light Media, LLC, www.cannonlightmedia.com. Music provided by Chris Paradise.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino this year.
I was only playing for fun, so winning this was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's #1 social casino experience. It's serious fun. With over 80 casino-style games to choose from, you too could win life-changing amounts of cash. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and give them a whirl. That's ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void or prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of a winner.